In a world where crime reigns supreme, and evil megalomaniacs unleash missiles whenever they feel like it, only one man can stop them.
Well, it ain't Barney the Purple Dinosaur!
With the power of experiments gone wrong, the amazing Bulk, coming to a review channel near you.
Last week I discussed cult films, a term that describes cinematic niches, and while they've always existed, I think we can all agree that superhero movies were kind of the thing during the last 15 years. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, The Avengers, Infinity War, superhero comics and their adaptations have been popular for decades, some of their film adaptations being pretty well remembered, and others not so much. Because of their growing popularity, the comic movie phenomenon was inevitably going to be capitalized on, leading to stuff like this.
You helped me by erasing my mind what unfaded memories I had.
Thankfully, we also got so bad it's good superhero spoofs, such as The Toxic Avenger, so you know, there's still balance in the universe. The subject of this week's review is such a superhero spoof known as The Amazing Bulk, a film with a budget so low that every scene was filmed with a very obvious green screen. Anyways, let's get into the movie. Roll the intro editing, Soapy.
Polos is life, 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 sleep all night and then Polos is life.
The movie opens with parodies of company logos like Universal and 20th Century Fox, not unlike ones that I've used myself. It's pretty obvious from the get-go that this movie is a piss take, and the story begins with this woman, implied to be a sex worker, walking home at night. She gets killed by this evil mugger guy, and I'm just gonna let this scene speak for itself. Why does this shooting animation look like it's from a video game? Not a good video game either. For opening credits, we get some stock sciencey animations with some hideous purple Comic Sans credits overlaid. I guess because, you know, comic book movie. At least this was done in jest, unlike something like Suicide Squad. These two detectives, Lisa and Ray, inspect the crime scene and are naturally puzzled at the sight of a purple blood-like substance. I mean, it's true that blood can come in different colours depending on the respiratory pigment, but I don't think that anyone is expecting a sea worm to get involved in a gunfight. It's nice to know that the Bulk's blood is hemorythrin based though.
Nerd!
The detectives find the wallet of our main character, Henry Hank Howard, on the body of the mugger. Get it? It's alliterative like Bruce Banner? The scene closes with the most questionable bit of stock animation in this film yet. I was actually shocked by it. We cut to one day earlier, where Hank is trying to make a super soldier serum for the military. He's been trying to do this for a while, with no success. He is also dating the general's daughter, Hannah, and he and his friend have a little emo moment about it.
She's the best thing that's happened to me these past 4 years, my friend.
Yeah, well, outside these walls, she's the best thing that happened to me, period.
Other than the very apparent use of chroma key in this scene, these two aren't wearing gloves or safety glasses while in the lab. No wonder they've had no success. They're contaminating everything, including themselves.
This is harder than rocket science.
Look, I'm not a fool. I knew this would be complicated. I mean, a serum to enhance the human body, heightening the immune system, increasing speed and strength. I mean, do you realize how long a human would live if we could perfect this serum?
Yeah, as I was saying, their experiment isn't going so well, and the pressure is on from the general. What the hell are these visuals? I can imagine exactly how they made them too. You record them sitting down or running over a green screen, then just throw some stock car overlay on top of them. I'm surprised that the wheels are even moving. The couple talk about having kids, and it really makes you wonder how the film's later events would affect Hank's fertility. It could really go one way or the other, right? No, this is never brought up again. The man goes to ask the general for Hannah's hand in marriage, and it doesn't go well as the general isn't impressed with Hank's lack of results.
You think I want a deadbeat son-in-law? Negative. The government will stop funding this project unless you start showing some goddamn results.
The acting from the general here is better than one would expect, although the lines aren't super creative. At this spooky lair, this character and her dog greet her husband, Dr. Werner von Kantlove. With a name like that, he has to be the main antagonist.
You should know that does not work on me.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. There's nothing going on downstairs.
Absolutely riveting dialogue. Apparently Hank isn't the only one with marital issues. Dr. Kantlove fries one of his guards because he makes a mocking gesture at him, and it's the typical scene to show how evil the villain is.
Would you like something, hard?
Yes, yes! Then blow up another one for me?
No.
Please?
Oh, well. All right.
Okay, I know I'm showing a lot of clips, but you have to see how goofy this movie is. What was with all those innuendos? What is this monkey doing in here? Why is there a stock animation of Beethoven in the background? Why are they turning firing missiles into this weird thing? It suggested that Dr. Kantlove is impotent, so maybe this is all they have. During what you can assume is that evening, Hank and Hannah go to a theme park and decide to play Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 before getting the subway home, where Hank is mugged. It turns out the mugger didn't just steal Hank's wallet, but also the ring that he intended to give Hannah. With the pressure rising to get results back to Hannah's dad, Hank does the unthinkable and tests the serum on himself, causing a tornado inside the lab as he transforms into the Bulk. I imagined that it would be more werewolf style, but you know, low budget and all. Now everything in the intro makes sense, but am I supposed to believe that all of this happened in one day? The passing of time was so strange during that segment that I forgot about the mugger subplot and assumed everything was happening over several days. That may be my problem though. Lisa and Ray, the detectives from earlier, arrive at Hank's house to return his wallet.
When were you born?
Ray thinks that Hank is guilty because he got a purple stain on his hand while in the house. This by itself would be enough to make Hank look suspicious, but he also says this line which makes no sense.
How come our sweet and innocent Henry knew that the mugger killed a prostitute?
Because you told him?
Prostitute and a criminal were found dead in an alleyway. Guess which one had your wallet?
I know he looked shocked, but that doesn't mean he knew about it. It's just shocking news. However, the stain confirms this to Lisa too, and when all three of the characters go to the crime scene, contrived, Hank turns into the Bulk.
What the hell is that?
Well, it ain't Barney the purple dinosaur!
Good thing I called for backup.
The Bulk runs away in just about the worst chase scene I've ever seen, and the news show up immediately. The Bulk clumsily knocks a car over into one of the detectives, and we're supposed to be really sad about it. I think.
Look out! Lisa!
On the bright side, this bald guy dressed as the Bulk takes down that news helicopter, so the footage that they filmed will never see the light of day. On the downside, Ray arrests the Bulk as soon as he turns back into Hank. In prison, Hank is kidnapped by the General so that he can evaluate his condition. Meanwhile, Dr. Kantlove plots to blow up the moon. Displaying his more manipulative side, the General makes a deal with Hank to dispose of Dr. Kantlove using his Bulk powers, in return for a cure and being allowed to marry Hannah. This leads to another ridiculous chase scene where the Bulk storms Kantlove's castle, and he completes his mission in a very Monty Python-esque way. However, the military start trying to blow Hank up, and the General reveals that he was lying about the cure and Hannah. In reality, the government stopped funding the super soldier research 2 years before the film's events, so Cantlove started funding the research in the hopes of curing his problem downstairs. When Hank's research proved successful, Cantlove was rendered useless. The Bulk runs through various ugly stock CGI scenes to escape a CGI military, and this is where the movie started to lose me. I get taking a low budget and making something silly with it, but this is pushing it. It's very lowbrow. Worse yet, this scene ends with a nuclear bomb being dropped on Hank. The general tells a very distressed Hannah that Hank died while fighting Cantlove, and that What's with the fountain, man? Come on! Hank appears in Hannah's house, and she accepts his proposal, but doesn't believe that her dad tried to kill him. Suddenly, the man in question bursts into the room and starts a fight with Hank on the balcony, I think? I had to pause and take a closer look because it looks half-rendered. The fight leads to both men tumbling off the edge to their deaths. Very dramatic and a rather fitting ending. Hannah visits Hank's horrible-looking gravestone. Like, really? Couldn't you have gotten a nicer one? She puts a flower on his grave before leaving, and Ray makes his final appearance in the film. He's extremely drunk and attempts to piss on Hank's grave, but can't start because 2 bulk arms rise up and squish his head. The end. I've often heard critics discuss The Amazing Bulk as being one of the worst films ever made, and this 2013 article from Cinema Crazed is quoted as saying, "The only way I can come to grips with the fact that The Amazing Bulk actually exists is that someone on the cast or crew needed to pay off their gambling debts for a violent loan shark." Would I agree with this though? Let's see. To an extent, the use of green screen is charming, but the backdrops that they use are very ugly. This combined with the use of dated clip art style animations means that the gimmicky cheapness of the film's visuals gets tired quickly. Everything before the last 15 minutes of the film had me laughing along with it, but after that point I was feeling kind of insulted. On a more positive note, I do like the choice of music. Classical stuff like Beethoven, and my favourite Tchaikovsky. We all know they're using it because it's royalty free though. Why not use some of Kevin MacLeod's music? I swear I've heard those tunes in movies before.
Hey, come on, it's not even noon and already you're in a bad mood. Sam, I'm taking him to lunch. I'll bring him back soon.
The Amazing Bulk does have an atmosphere of self-awareness, especially with that intro and lines like, "Well, it ain't Barney the Purple Dinosaur." It's clearly intended to be a silly mockbuster. The villains' names are apparently references to Kubrick films, Cantlove being like Strangelove, but also being a reference to the character's medical history. I wish that Cantlove was worked more into the story as the main villain, to be honest. I feel like he suited the goofy comic book parody shtick they seem to be going for. One of the most encouraging things about this film's reception is how well its creator, Louis Schönbrunn, seems to respond to criticism. In the video How to Take Criticism by I Hate Everything, he details how Schönbrunn sent him a pretty nice message in response to his review. It's always nice to see creators have nice interactions with critics. In 2021, a sequel to The Amazing Bulk was birthed in the form of an Amazon ebook that you can apparently purchase for the bargain price of $4.94 a pop. I'm not sure how they retconned Hank's death, and I'm not sure that I want to find out. Overall, I wouldn't recommend this film to anyone who isn't used to goofy movies, but if you are and want a good laugh, go ahead. Well, that's all for this video. Be sure to follow me on social media as they are all linked in my description box. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.
The blue and green ones are my favorite kind, but I'll eat the colored ones from time to time, 'cause Polos is life, 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 Polos is life. Sleep all night and then Polos is life.